So we are live. We're getting ready to get our guest up here. And then we will take a few minutes and let everybody kind of get here before we actually start into the whole interview. And there is Heidi. Woo! All of a sudden, on here I didn't see before. And let's hope this goes. Oh, and there we go. Hey, look, it worked again.
Hi, it works. I'm so glad.
Yeah, why is my Bluetooth acting weird? Because I know if I leave it on speakerphone, my kids are going to be loud.
My pets are acting weird, so I hope they don't bother us.
Why will it not connect? Let me see here. Okay, so I want to, yeah, it's saying that. Oh. Okay, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's still not connecting to my Bluetooth. Oh gosh. Why is it doing this to me? And I can't even use
Do you need to restart it?
oh, I don't want to do that. We already got 9 people. I guess I'll just have to tell everybody here to be really quiet. It's saying everything's connected, but it's still coming through here. Hmm. Okay, well, we're just going to go with it.
Okay.
So, okay, so everybody, this is Heidi.
Hi, friends.
And we are going to be doing this recording as a live video, but it's going to be turned into podcast for my Galactic Guidance podcast on Anchor. So I thought we'd take a couple minutes, kind of let people get here, and then we'll actually start into the actual part when I'm going to gonna have to edit it. So I'll have to say, okay, well, I'm gonna start now, and we're gonna get ready for the podcast. So let's see. Whoa, we're up to 11 viewers. Okay, so okay, Gina says we're hearing and seeing you both.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay, well, our viewers are climbing. Woo!
Hey. Hello,
Yeah.
viewers.
Yeah, okay. Everybody says it's looking really good. Well, that is amazing. Okay, so my family, my Bluetooth's not working, so please be quiet. I don't even think they hear me. They all have their own earplugs in. Oh, well. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and do the little introduction I need to do for um to get ready for the segment, and then we'll just start right in. Does that sound great?
Sounds good to
Okay.
me.
Okay. Okay, so welcome to Galactic Guidance with Nellie Mack and Sapphire Star Codes, and we are here today doing a live video on my group with psychic Heidi Corona from Spirit Speaks, and we're going to be talking to her about the ups and downs of being a psychic and have a question segment at the end. So Heidi, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, boy. Hello, hello, and I am so glad to be here. Thank you, Nell, for inviting me. A little about myself. Well, I can tell you, are we having distortion?
I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. Sorry, you'll have to edit that out, girl.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so a little bit about me is just I'm a regular, real person, just like you and anybody else. And anybody can be psychic, anybody can get psychic. And this is something that happened to me during my adult years. I was, I want to say 34, maybe 33, 34. I was in church, and on Mother's Day, my Aunt Kelly, who is in spirit, spoke to me, and it changed my life forever. But prior to that, I have to tell you, I kind of was raised in church. I went to a Christian. Am I talking out of line here? Is this what you want to
Oh,
know?
no, you're fine. I'm just trying to still get my Bluetooth to work. So.
Okay, gotcha. So I was raised up in a loose Christian household. I mean, we didn't go to church all the time, but it was available and I went and I enjoyed it, whatever. But I had a very strong belief in heaven and hell. And I had a very strong belief in our past loved ones die and then they're judged, and I might see them and I might not if I go to the place, or who knows. That those were my beliefs. And I'll tell you, as a real regular person, just like everyone else, I had some ups and downs in my life. And I may have went through what some would consider a dark night of the soul time, where I was really into some heavy energy and having a really hard time in life. I mean, in many different areas. And it took me deciding to choose a better life before things started to change and happen for me in my life. It took me not with anything, I didn't have any reward in mind. I wasn't seeking spirituality. I just decided that I was tired of the old ways. I was tired of the old stuff, and I just wanted to live a better life. So I started going to church again. I chose it, actually, Spirit guided me to this new church. My cell phone opened at random to this random church 30 minutes from my town, right? I'm like, this is really weird, right? So I called the church. I said, when is your next service? In 30 minutes. I said, well, that's a sign. It takes me 30 minutes to get there, and and it starts then, right? So I said, well, I guess I should go. So I went to the church, and I loved it, man. And I'll tell you, it was a Pentecostal church. I had never been to one before. I was baptized that very day in that church, and I spoke in tongues and all kinds of weird stuff that I didn't understand. But Spirit moved through me, man. Spirit moved through me and lit me up. And that was the church that I was in on Mother's Day, with my mom, with my children, with other family members. And my Aunt Kelly, who's my mother's sister, my Aunt Kelly's in spirit. And at that time, she had been passed away about 6 months. And we all grieved her heavily. And it was Mother's Day. And she had her grandchildren there in the church, and their grandma wasn't there, right? And so as we were wrapping up, as we were leaving, I went to hug my Aunt Kelly's granddaughter, who was her favorite, if I'm allowed to say that. I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but we do, and she did, and Marissa was definitely her favorite. And I went to hug Marissa, and I was just loving the vibe. I was loving the church. I was so grateful. I wasn't even thinking about my aunt at all, and that's how I know that it was so real, because I was just loving the vibe of the church. And I went to hug Marissa, and I said, all right, honey, I love you. And I went to hug her. When I hugged her, my Aunt Kelly screamed through my ear, tell her grandma loves her. Like loud, like she'd been screaming the whole time, man. And I caught it. And at the same moment, I felt like she shook my shoulder. Tell her grandma loves her. Like she literally, right? I didn't move, but I felt like I did. I wondered if people saw me being shooken, right? But tell her grandma loves her. So I put my little, she's a second cousin or whatever. I put her at arm's length, and I said, your grandma loves you. And she said, I know. And then I hugged her again, and I left. And that was that. But I cried, man. I started crying my eyes out right there in the church, because beliefs were shattered. Beliefs were shattered for me in that moment. And I realized that our past loved ones live on. Our relatives live on. We live on. There is no fear about death. I couldn't believe it. I had to tell everybody. I told my mom. I had to tell everybody. That is what really kickstarted my spiritual awakening journey, and me diving in to learn about this, guys. Because just because it happened to me didn't mean I knew how to use it. Didn't mean I could demand it on cue. My mom's like, well, what does she say to me? And I'm like, radio silence. I don't know. I don't know how to make her come back. You know what I mean? I don't know how to make this work. So I had to learn, man. I had to learn, and it's taken some time, but thank God for this life. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So then, as you started into your journey, what are some ways that you worked to develop these gifts? Like some practical ways that you found that worked for you?
Let's see. I definitely I jumped onto the coattails of some teachers that resonated with me online, because I don't have anything in my local community. I really love John Holland. I bought many of his books. I read his books and ingested, absorbed, and used the tools in those books. I have many other books from many other sources that I'm the kind that will absorb it, if from any means necessary. If it draws me, I'll use it. So I've gone with books. I've taken several classes through the Light Shine Lab, and those have helped me in different ways, unlock different parts of my journey. But the biggest thing is you don't need you don't need anything, man. You
Yeah.
don't need anything. Spirit lives inside of you all the time, and you are always connected. And one of the greatest things that I implement, not only in my own practice, but I teach others how to do it as well. And the things that I tell my students to do is to live in the flow of spirit all the time. We can connect through meditation, but spirit walks with you through the grocery store. You know what I mean? Spirit is with you no matter where you're at, and you can always tap in, you can always lean in, you can always ask, how does this feel to me? How does this feel to me? I need to give you one more thing about this. Now, early in my spiritual awakening, now, I told you, my mediumship, boom, opened up in church. That's mediumship. Mediumship is different than psychic reading.
Mm-hmm.
Mediumship is when there's a different person, a third-party person who's coming and connecting with you for someone else or for yourself, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Psychic reading's a little different. But my mediumship opened up in church. However, psychic reading, psychic intuitive reading, that kind of thing, we all have it, guys. We all get nudges. We all get signs from our team. And I'm telling you, before I was ever a reader, I had the most clearest intuitive sign ever. And it really saved some things. So I'll tell you quickly about that. I don't know where we're at with time.
We're good. You're right ahead.
So way before my spiritual awakening, when I was a very 3D person, I worked at the welfare office. I was a case manager. I held a job. I had my family and everything else. Now things are different. You see the street behind me? That's how different my life is now. So in the spiritual world. Now, way back then, I considered myself a very 3D, I dare say, normal person, if there is such a thing. And my daughter was coming home from high school. She called me up. She usually walked home from school, and she called me up and said, "Hey, Mom, I've got this friend who he missed his ride, and can he come hang out at the house until his mom can pick him up?" And I was fine with that. I was home. She asked me, of course, baby, just come on, walk home with him, and that's fine. That's fine. Well, my daughter started to come in the door. And as soon as I said, "Hey, baby," and I went to look at this kid to invite him into my house. And this kid, mind you, was 16, okay, young man. He was a young man, an adolescent. And as soon as I took sight of him, I felt like someone punched me in the stomach. And that's clairsentience, friends.
Right.
That is clairsentience, and I didn't know what it was, but I know that the moment I looked at this kid, I felt like, boom, like something punched me in the gut, and I wanted to vomit. I didn't know why. I didn't know what it meant, but I got sick at the sight of this kid, and I told my daughter, "Honey, he can't come inside." And she was mad. High school kid, I just told him he could come. He walked all the way here. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I said, "I'm sorry, baby, but that kid needs to leave. He cannot come in my house. I don't want him here." And she did. He ended up leaving, right? And not even 2 years later, by the time he was 18, that kid was arrested locally for murdering a young girl in the car locally. And now I know if I catch a sight of anyone and they punch me in the stomach,
Right.
I better stay away from that dangerous person. Stay away from whatever that could be. That was a disresonance, the dissonance of my energy. That was my team informing me, run, stay away, dangerous, right? So I read that, even though I didn't know what it was. And we can all do this, you guys. Our bodies are the hugest receptors of spiritual information, and it is so literal sometimes. I'm telling you, if you're thinking about going somewhere and you stub your toe, don't go. That is spirit saying, wait a minute, maybe you're going to avoid an accident. Maybe the whole trip's a bad idea. Just take a minute to think about it. Pay attention to your body's signs. If you get a pain in your heart, better know, maybe what you're thinking about, what you're feeling, or what you're planning to do may not be a good idea for your well-being, right? Got to think about these things. Spirit uses your body and your instrument, and that's what I have paid attention to in my journey, because my signs are probably different than Nell's signs. My signs are probably different than many of your guys' signs, but we all have them. We all have them. So tapping in on your own and knowing what's personal to you, that strengthens the connection to your team. Very important.
Very much. Very much. So then, okay, so now tell us, what do you do? Like, how do you use your gifts and stuff?
Well, it seems like it's not in my life path or purpose to win the lotto on my psychic gifts, because that's yet to happen. I've not hit big on any tickets, you know what I mean? I use my gift in service, and I don't believe it's a gift. Again, I don't believe it's a gift. A gift is something that's bestowed upon someone who's special or someone who's being acknowledged. We are all connected to spirit. We
Yeah.
are all expressions of source energy here in this dimension, and we can all tap into our own abilities. My abilities I use in service of others. In fact, at this time, I'm not even booking private sessions right now. I'm only doing free live events. From my page, from Light Shine Lab, I'm doing a lot of free stuff because it's healing to people, man. And when I'm able to help others to move through maybe some of their grief or to move through their life with some additional guidance and insight, that's healing to me too. So they said, don't give up on the lotto yet, Lisa says. Yeah. Don't give up on the lotto yet. I haven't. One day, somehow, who knows? But until then, I will keep walking the path of spirit and keep giving my life to this purpose because not only I feel lucky now, I feel lucky because before the mediumship opened up for me, my view of the world was different. My view of life and death was different. My grief processes were different. Not to say that I don't grieve as a medium, because I very much do. However, my life was changed with just the simple knowing that we live on. And I feel the urge to spread that to anyone else who could use that kind of healing for them as well. It helps my family and countless others, man.
Yeah, definitely. That was the hugest switch for me too, of just like that whole fear and like total ending, right? Of what we grew up in, like just to know there's hope for the future, right? Like we don't got to live in that.
Absolutely. And the shame of all the wrongs that I've done in my life are going to be held against me one day, right? The shame of that held me back, man. You maybe heard some things I've been through life. We're all grown-ups here. I've made mistakes. Even as a spiritual and psychic individual, I've made mistakes. I've gone against my inner knowing. I've made those mistakes and had my life lessons. It doesn't make us perfect. It doesn't, but just the different perspective, man, is so freeing. And knowing that I can release the past. All I have is right now. And what am I going to do with now? And maybe I can envision a brighter tomorrow and a brighter future. My past does not define me. Your past does not define you. There is no big bearded God up in the sky ready to smite you down for stealing that candy back when you were a kid or whatever this is, man. Are you living a good life today? Are you walking in the light today? Are you doing harm today? Or are you uplifting people today? That's how I focus my life. And it was very freeing for me to learn this information.
Yeah, definitely. Very much. Yeah. And I found it like so very freeing for me to be able to share that with my children. Like, like it was like a gradual process for me. Like I was moving into those mindsets like before we even made that huge break, but I was just kind of like to be able to tell my kids, you know what, I don't care what you do when you grow up. There's nothing that's going to make me not love you. I just want you to be a moral person, right? I just want you to have good karma, right?
Thank God.
Right? That's just really, I mean, because their journey is going to be totally different than anything I would imagine, right? So I just want them to be happy. And, I'm glad that we like, just like you, that we've come out of like that whole stigma so that there can be that openness.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our children already have it, man. They're much more closely connected to the divine than most adults are. Because they're not, they come in as babies, totally open, totally connected to spirit. And it's cultural conditioning that teaches us that imaginary friends aren't real, that teaches us to pay attention and focus on our math at our school desk, right? That teaches us that kind of thing. And it's wonderful that we have so many parents now that are open spiritually so that these children can have some support at a very young age, because I know my kids are very open. My daughter, she communicates with the other side. She communicates with our past loved ones. In fact, I have this, I don't get paid to say this, although I wish I did, but I don't. I have this Talking to Heaven Oracle deck by James Von Prague. This is about past loved ones. It's messages from the other side from past loved ones. My daughter's 12, and I allow her to play with this deck from time to time because she wants to hear a message from Aunt Kelly or another loved one. And it's a beautiful thing that our children can be raised in the with the knowledge of the truth of their core being. It's really wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's say there's some people listening and they would like to develop their psychic abilities. So what are some suggestions, like practical suggestions that they can use in their everyday life?
Well, in all reality, I'm going to just tell you how simple it is. When you want to increase your psychic or intuitive abilities, you have to be aware of how you feel and are and think normally. Because a spirit message is going to be just a little different and it's going to be subtle. So I've heard many people say that meditation is the cornerstone of a spiritual practice. Now, a lot of people shy away from that. Meditation, oh my God, I can't even fold my legs like that.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way. Meditation can just be simple, quiet time to get to know who you are, to get to know what your body feels like. Oftentimes, like I said, oftentimes spirit will come through with body signals, guys. If you don't know what your regular body feels like, just sitting, like no TV, no music. I'm talking just you. Close your eyes. Go inside in your head, inside of yourself. Notice and sense your body. Man, my back always hurts in this one spot on this side. Darn it. Yeah, notice these things about yourself. And then when you're attempting to connect with spirit, it's going to be something different. You won't notice an anomaly until you're comfortable in your own energy.
Very
and that
true.
is really, really the truth of that. You're not going to notice a spirit message coming through your thoughts until you know what your own thoughts sound like. Until you know what your own thoughts sound like and you can suspend them. Now, I'm not saying like, hey, I have that same problem. Sometimes my head will not stop. Sometimes my head won't, guys, because I'm human. Because we're human and we have conditions and circumstances and stressors and brains, you know what I mean? That just do what they want sometimes. But when you're in that space, be mindful when you're in a space where your thoughts aren't racing, okay, and you're ready to kind of devote some time. Be mindful of your thoughts. Most people try to block out their thoughts. Most people say, I've got to keep them, I've got to keep it empty, keep my mind empty. And then they hold that very tense and tight, empty space in their minds. And spirit tries to come through and you almost say, no, I'm keeping this empty, right? I'm keeping my brain empty. I'm talking about when you're getting quiet in your mind and you're attempting to connect with spirit, if you're on that psychic development path, trying to keep your mind empty. Now, there can be a resistance there. You're keeping out spirit's messages if you're trying to keep this empty mind. So allow yourself to wait. Just like you're waiting for me to finish. It's that simple. Hey, spirit, will you show up? I'm just going to wait and allow you to raise my vibration. I'm going to wait and see what happens. And then just wait. You don't have to start thinking anything at all if you're waiting. If you happen to start thinking something, oh man, I wonder if I put the garbage out, just let it go. You know that's your thought. Oh man, I wonder what I'm going to make for dinner today. Just let it go. That's yours. But if something comes in that's not yours, you're going to notice.
Right.
Hey, this sounds like a great inspirational idea. Or maybe I should give so-and-so a phone call. Whoa, I wasn't even thinking about so-and-so. You'll notice when they're not your thoughts, and you'll notice how to direct your thoughts. Does that help answer the question?
That does. I think that's a really good idea. I know like a lot of people, they always like when I'm doing like readings of feelings, they're like, would you see yourself as an intuitive person? And they're like, well, I think so, but then I doubt myself all the time. And I'm like, but you got to not doubt yourself, right? I mean, when you're getting the messages, the more you like run with them, right? The more you're like, oh God, that's a message, and do it, the more it's going to come through. So like, I think a lot of people just deal with doubt because we are told to question, like we question everything in life, right? Like it's so hard not to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the doubt is challenging. Now, I'm drawn to say something about how to tell the difference. Sometimes we can doubt ourselves as people. Is this a message coming through? I'm not sure. If what you're feeling is coming through and it's creating some fear, panic, or anxiety, and you can't get it out of your head because it keeps coming through, oftentimes that's just us trying to figure out a solution to the energy that we're in.
Right.
A spirit message is going to come in and be out so subtly that you almost, wait a minute, did I just think of that amazing solution to my problem that's been eluding me? Spirit messages are not fear-based. They're going to uplift you. They're not going to increase the doubt in you. And I know that's not exactly what you were saying, but I felt the need to specify that for the viewing audience about the messages, and it should be uplifting. Our own human selves can be on the fears and the doubts, and trusting is what really it's challenging, man. It's challenging. And I would suggest that you practice alone. If you're not in a place where you can risk that kind of embarrassment, you don't have to. You know what I mean? Practice alone with spirit. And oftentimes people want guidance. Hold on, I have a couple of things. If you want to buy a deck and work with the deck, most definitely do it, but you don't have to. You don't need, decks are props and tools, but they're very fun. So this is a deck that I like to use, Light Seers Tarot. I like to use it because the cards are very, look, I cut right to the death card. That's a good card, death and rebirth. Yep. The cards are very descriptive images, right? The images are great, so you can kind of read them. So if you wanted to play with cards, you could do that. If not, I'm telling you, flip a coin. Oftentimes people want to say, should I do this or do that? Or should I do this or not? Okay. I challenge you to get quiet with yourself and say, hey, spirit, if the coin is heads, I'm going to do it. And if the coin is tails, it's the other thing. Flip the coin, let it land and look at it. If you can't live with that decision, then there's your answer, man. Don't do it.
Right.
But that's a good way to sit in that permanent feeling energy for just a moment. And if your body feels funny, oh my God, I don't want to, then you have your answer. Spirit does not want you to do anything that feels like that. So flipping a coin and sitting in that energy really helps to suss out that doubt, that doubtful feeling. And you don't have to tell anybody about it. That's the fun thing about spirit. It's all inside. It's between you and spirit.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So do we have time for some questions? Would you like to take some questions?
I would love to, but I don't even know how much time we have. I can't see the time.
It's not timed. We just go as long as we want.
Of course. I'd love to take some questions.
Okay. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And I see Tracy says that doubt is big, and Gina Wright says she thinks doubt is one of our biggest obstacles. And I think it's definitely something like everybody deals with, especially at the beginning until they learn to trust themselves, right?
Absolutely. So, one thing that I would like to say is to keep that energy moving, especially when you're practicing in a safe space or even alone with any kind of spiritual skill that you're trying to up level or work with more deeply. Oh man. So what I want to say, oh my gosh, I lost it now. I have a spirit brain right now. I have a spirit brain. I lost it. Hold on, let me sip my water, and if they give it back, then I was supposed to say it. And if not, hey man, that's how it works sometimes, guys.
Great. If you guys have a question for her, just drop it in the comments.
Okay, that's what it was. So about doubt being an obstacle, and just especially when you're practicing alone or with the safe space with other people, just letting come through whatever you get, even if it's wrong, man, even if it doesn't land, just allowing that information to move, because our imaginal realm and our pineal gland, actually, since most of us, like when we're newer on our spiritual awakening journey, we're newly unlocking these types of skills. You can liken your pineal gland and your psychic pipes, right? The information moves through these psychic pipes, kind of like rusty pipes of an old house. Say you move into a new apartment and the pipes are rusty, not new. You move into a place, the pipes are rusty, you got to turn it on and the water kind of runs like gross. Yeah. And, oh my gosh, you wouldn't want to use that water, but you give it a couple of minutes and it'll run clear, right? And you can use that water. So oftentimes when we've not used our psychic skills, when we're not stretching out those muscles because we never have before, right? They can be like that, a little rusty, a little clunky, a little junky and dirty and dusty. And so allowing, just connecting with spirit and saying, Spirit, push through whatever it is, and writing everything down, documenting everything that you get, even if it doesn't make sense, moves that energy and cleans and clears those types that you're working with. And eventually that information is going to run so clear and be so, have so much clarity that you'll be amazed at yourself. I'm telling you, Spirit blows my mind left and right. I am so grateful that to be a co-creator with Spirit in this type of work. It's freaking amazing. And the more you use it, the better it'll work for you. So definitely just writing all those things down, even if it doesn't land, don't hold on to those misses or hold on to those mistakes. Just know that it's working. The energy's moving, your pipes are cleaning out, and the more you do it, the clearer and more focused you'll be, more clarity you'll have.
Yeah, and like another thing I've noticed like over my journey is that I'll hear something and it'll be like 2 years later before I understand what it meant. But it is a very important message. Now, why my guides told me 2 years ago and how I still remember today, I don't know. But, you know, it does, so like, even if it doesn't resonate right now, write it down, right? Because if you can go back and you can read and be like, oh my gosh, now I seem to remember something about that. Well, it could be an answer that you've gotten for the future, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely,
So,
man.
okay.
You know, it's kind of, for me, I have sought clarity on some really heavy issues about my life. And it seems like the heavier the issue, the further I seem from
Yeah.
clarity on it, right? Because
Yeah.
when we want something so bad, we've now attached a lack of having it to that energy. And I've waited years before I've had to come to peace with, you know what, maybe I'll never know. Maybe I'll never understand. I just got
Right.
to let it go. And then boom, dropped in my lap. Hey, by the way, here's some clarity on that thing. Thank you. Wow, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And sometimes the other way around. So definitely writing it all down. We are here in 3D. We're kind of on a timeline, yes, but up in the upper dimensions, our higher self, there is no time. This is all happening pretty much in the same moment. So we may receive things, like you said, at a different time for later.
Right.
We are kind of psychic readers, you know what I mean, in the future a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So you've got two questions so far. One is from Tracy Sweet. She says, how
Mm-hmm.
do you discern from different people? Like when like getting in their energy. So like let's just say you're doing a reading and if someone comes to you, like for you to give a message to this person, or like that one time I know you did like a reading for me and like it was like an Alaskan DNA family member, right, who came through.
Yes.
So she's asking, how do you discern? How do you know, get into that energy to know who's coming through?
Okay. So for me, like I said, mediumship is different than psychic or intuitive reading. To be a psychic or intuitive reading, it means, say, Nell, if I'm reading you, it's me and you, and it's just the two of our energies, and I'm receiving information or intuitively gleaning information from you and some guidance that can help you through whatever it is that you're going through. Now, that's a psychic or intuitive reading. Now, with mediumship, what is Tracy's question that she's asking, how to discern the different spirits or the different past loved ones in mediumship. Is that correct, what she's asking me there?
That's what I'm getting. Yeah.
Okay, so with mediumship, for me, this helped me immensely, you guys. If you're planning to practice mediumship, I highly suggest that you employ a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper is a certain type of guide that you can use in tandem with the rest of your spirit guidance team. But the gatekeeper's job is to hold the grid of your field and make sure that no past loved ones come in unless you're allowing it. And they will notify you of the past loved one coming through. So when I'm in a session and I say I'm doing a reading for somebody and it's a psychic reading and I'm pulling cards or giving information, all of a sudden my gatekeeper gives me a message and says, hey, they've got a past loved one who wants to come in your reading. I get a nudge from my gatekeeper. So my gatekeeper will let me know you've got a past loved one. At that moment, I know I'm shifting my attention to the spirit world. And then I can kind of lean in with all of my clairs. Sometimes I feel it. Sometimes I hear it. Sometimes I see it. Sometimes I just know. But I will wait and be observant and see what that person is, what their characteristics are like that are coming through. Sometimes I'll see them in a certain position, they'll look a certain way. Sometimes it's clear as day and I'll know exactly who it is. But that gatekeeper is crucial to knowing when I'm jumping from a psychic to a mediumship type of a reading, or if I have a past loved one who would like to come into a reading for somebody. Once in a while, I might feel my gatekeeper at the grocery store or something, but I'm not one who keeps those kinds of hours. I feel it's invasive to go up to people and say, you have a spirit with you, and they feel like da 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 da, because our spirit, our past loved one, is with them, does love them, maybe does want them to have a message, but oftentimes it's not for me to say if that human is ready. Is that human ready to heal, hold this message? Is that human ready to hear this? If that happens to me and I get my nudge from my gatekeeper, when in a time when I'm not in business hours, I will instruct that past loved one, make it happen, man. Bring them to me. We'll sit together. I'll do a reading. Have them show up on my live broadcast. Have them ask me something about mediumship or about the other side. Make it happen, and I will be the vessel to bring through your message. Otherwise, I have business hours. I don't get tapped on the shoulder or woken up at night. And I do use my gatekeeper to discern the different spirits coming in. Again, how do I sense them? It's different for everyone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think like for me, it's like, so when I am like having that, I see colors or I get a feeling, right? These are all indicators of, okay, well, this person is feminine and there is so much love flowing, right? Or like you see them dressed in certain clothing, right? That like gives you like ideas of what time frame they're from, right? And things like that. So I think it's about like taking that time to tune in and to feel and to see and to hear.
Yes.
Right? What are they showing you? As you know, like, so like the first time I had this like psychic reading with this huge psychic, like it was like $75 for 15 minutes, but I was told by my shaman to book a reading for him because my daughter was having she was having like a healing and a reading, and her guides would not speak. She's like, her guides are saying is Saint Martin, and she spelled it, and it was an island. But she goes, it's not the island. This is a person. So I found this dude online and I booked the reading. We had to wait like a week and a half to 2 weeks. And he's just like, no nonsense. He's like, okay, well, there's a woman coming in and she's a grandma and she's identifying herself with a teacup. Right? You know, like just like that. So then my grandma she was into ceramics and she made all of these, all the granddaughters got a tea set, you know, that kind of thing.
Amazing.
So like having that identifying factor from the other person, I think that's like totally necessary.
The evidences are extremely crucial in believing it. You know what I mean? In the understanding, how could this person possibly know? How could this person possibly know? And those little evidences are so important, but it's getting to that point of trust. If he didn't trust the information that was coming through, he may not have said that. And back to Tracy's question, how do you trust? How do you clarify your signs? How do you get clearer with that? You just do it as often as possible. You work with spirit. You sit in a meditation and say, listen here, spirit guides, I want to work on this sign. Show me what it is. I want to feel it. Really dive in one little piece at a time to what you want to enhance with your practice. And where you shift your awareness is where it's going to grow. So definitely.
Yeah.
Those evidences are crucial.
Yes. Okay, so then we have Gina Wright. She says, can you please talk about the idea that you have to be in a perfectly high vibration in order to connect with spirit? Also about how to lift your energy frequency.
Okay, those are great questions. Great questions. So I've heard a lot of people saying, well, there's a common misconception that that you must be high vibe to connect with spirit, or you must have a high vibe perfect life or whatever. I just want to toss that out there, and that's just not true, man. We're all human people. There is some truth to the process and the method, and I will explain that to you. So when I talk about my vibration, okay, what does that even mean? That is what is my my vibration right now is the total sum of my mental energies, my emotional energies, my physical and my spiritual energies. So a combination of all of those things. How am I feeling in these areas? What kinds of things am I thinking about? What am I doing? It all totals up to my vibration, and our vibration changes up and down all day long, depending on what we're dealing with or what we're doing. So when connecting in a session, I'll just tell you this, when I'm planning to connect in a session, in fact, right before this, right? My life's not perfect. Whose is, guys? There's stresses, struggles, drama, trauma, all these things. So right before this podcast, I put some music on to raise my vibration. I put on a silly song that makes me want to dance, and I turned it up loud. I mean, 5 minutes before this, I was really going with it to raise my vibe, because sometimes people get down in the dumps, man, and not because of this, but because of life circumstances. So raising your vibration to connect with spirit, okay? Because we want to be, the higher your vibration, meaning the more love that you are encompassing and embodying in your aura at this time. Love is the portal to the other side, okay? So when we say we're raising our vibration, we're embodying more and more love, okay? And we're kind of letting some of that other stuff go out of our field for now. So as we raise our vibration and we're embodying this love, we get to a point where our vibe is high for the session. Well, our spirit team on the other side, they have a super high vibration because they're not even physical, right? They are completely love. So they have to lower their vibe in whatever method they do to come down and meet in the middle with me so that I can understand and deliver their messages, okay? In a typical session, I'm high vibe Mrs. Happy, and it's no big deal, okay? That is how it would work ideally, okay? But I need to tell you guys that no matter what your vibe is, spirit is there. No matter what your vibe is, God shows up for you. I have been in the lowest times of my life, crying my eyes out, thinking no one else understood, but felt myself being held by some unseen entity, what I now know to be my angels. Spirit reaches us in our lowest times. Spirit can get through. Tell me this, can my grief stop God? I doubt it. There is nothing in this world, no low vibe, that can keep you from receiving spirit or receiving that spirit connection. Right. It does help to have a high vibe, and I can honestly say this, some of that is human too, because I'll tell you what, if my vibe's not high, I don't necessarily want to get on and do some readings. I don't necessarily trust the messages that I'm bringing through because I have my human filters and my fields are on, and maybe I'm emotional, who knows? But it is ideal to raise your vibe to connect, but spirit is always there, man. Spirit can always reach you. There is never a time, a place, or anything that you can do that can sever that connection. It is us who don't see it or don't perceive it because we're still in that low vibe state that we miss those high vibe messages coming through.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I know, like, there's times, like, I'm just like, oh my God, I got to do a reading, and I've got to go, like, hug a tree or, you know, get my feet out on the ground because, like, sometimes just, like, everyday life, it's just too overwhelming, right? And you're like, oh my God, I'm supposed to go help somebody. Like, I think, like, not going into, like, a reading, feeling very depressed, right? Because we want to be able to connect and to share love, right? Yeah, so definitely. Okay, so then there's another question. I don't even know if it's something we want to broach, okay? Bonnie says, my energy is saying that Russia is taking over the nuclear plant because there's a Stargate there. Is that correct? And I don't know if you want to even, like, I know there's Stargates. I've seen that going around, that there's a portal there, and I feel like it's totally.
I feel like it's true. I do feel like there is a Stargate there, but it makes no here nor there. You know, nothing's going to come of us. You know, I can't confirm nor deny, and I can't validate or prove it. You know what I mean? But I feel like, yes, there is a Stargate near or in around Russia there in that area, but I don't know what that has to do with anything else.
Yeah,
I appreciate the question.
Yeah, I've seen different things. I used to, like, be huge into conspiracy theories, and I've just kind of, now I've just, like, I can't prove, like you said, I can either prove or deny. So I'm just going to let spirit take care of all of that. Like, right. I'm going to keep my vibes high, and I'm going to help people. And then we're just going to get through all this together. Right.
Agreed. Agree. That's all we can do, man. A lot of us are getting caught up in the media, and it's not nonsense. You know, there are real things going on
Yeah.
in the world right now. Real things going on in our country right now. And it can really draw some of us in. But the biggest thing that we can do in our lives, oh my gosh, Rocco, stop. Sorry, my dog's barking. The
It's fine.
biggest thing that we can do in our day-to-day lives, and we don't even understand it, is to just keep filling ourselves with love. I know it sounds woo guys, but filling ourselves with love and spreading that love wherever we go, because there's so much negativity in the collective right now with everything that's going on everywhere in the world, that if we can just light up our little tiny piece of the grid, it helps. It all helps. Mother Earth is a sentient being, and as we plug the love in here, there, it spreads all the way to those areas that need it the most. But it starts with us not taking that personally, not pushing that stuff outward into our lives here, when that's not necessarily what we're doing, right?
Right. Yeah,
That's it.
definitely. Yep. Yep. So there's no other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and close off the podcast and thank Heidi Corona for joining us and for sharing so much wisdom. And you guys will be able to find a link to contact her on the podcast on the page here. So thank you for listening to Galactic Guidance with Nellie Mack. Okay, and now we can just chat.
So and thank you, Nell, for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nell, for having me as a guest. Super excited.
Yes, this was fun. And yeah, so I'll be processing this, and it'll be as a podcast, and then it'll be on YouTube. And then I'll also post it here on Facebook again for the people who, you know, if you want to share it out or whatever, it'll all be here for revisiting.
When you have it on YouTube, can you send it to me so I can post it on my page? That way folks can watch it too.
Oh yeah, I'll send you all the links and everything. So I'll send you all of them so that you have them for whatever you want to do.
All right. So. I'm reading the comments now. I love you, Lisa. You're welcome, Gina. You're welcome, Tracy, Myra. Thank you, Bonnie. Aw, you guys are super awesome. No more questions, huh? We're off the podcast. No more questions. This was a lovely sitting, and man, connect on your own, man, and really feel that love and spread it to those people locally in your lives. I feel that to be a very important collective message right now, because it all matters, man. What is happening within yourself it's kind of a mirror of what's happening in the world on a collective level, and what's happening within Mother Earth as she shifts through this energy. And we can help by intentionally being in that loving frequency, even when maybe some things are irritating us or we don't necessarily want to be. We're getting caught right up in that negative mishmash, just like everyone else is dealing with it. We have the power of our own awareness to change that, and to be in that loving frequency more often. If we can help it, and that helps the collective, it helps the Mother Earth as a whole.
Yes, definitely does. So
do I talk too much?
No, you don't. Like I don't like the people in my group really seem to love when we get someone else in here. You know, they just love different ideas and different things. And so you're like the second person I've actually had as a guest on my podcast, and everyone just loves it. You know, like the more you talk, I think the happier they are, to be honest. So yeah, so okay, well, let's see. Gina says, yeah, she agrees so much. We have to keep ourselves from drowning in the heaviness of the collective. And that's absolutely right, because sometimes it's hard to tell, okay, is this my own problem or is this the collective? You know, and so yeah,
absolutely. I've got to say that sometimes I have found myself, and I'm not the only one, I've heard of others, so maybe we should I'll say this real quick. I found myself in some real emotions and some real tears when they weren't attached to anything specific to do with me. I couldn't really find, like, I really wanted to cry. Like, I was crying, and I'm like, what am I crying for? Right. And my guidance team kind of gave it to me like Mother Earth being like a pressure cooker, and like she found an outlet for some emotions, and it was me. So I was crying for the collective for a moment, and I'm not usually a crier, so it was kind of big for me, and I questioned it. You know, what is this about?
Right.
I didn't feel any reason to cry, but that is happening right now. So if you're feeling those energy, I don't want you to drown in it either. That is not what Mother Earth intends. That is not what your spirit team intends. But if you feel that moving through you, recognize it. If it's not your own, attached to something, say thank you, Mother Earth, for allowing me to release for the collective, and just let it flow through you. You don't have to attach yourself to that energy.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So Lisa Reed says, I'll have you know that Tater was absolutely good during this whole thing.
Oh, he loves us. That's why.
Yes.
We love Tater.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And thank you so much for being live with us today. And hope we see you again soon.
Yes. Bye, friends.
Bye-bye, everybody.